All right, let's actually get started. Corey, don't start it before this. If you're listening. Okay. Now you can start it.
Don't.
No, he already did the clap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can't do the 2 claps or it messes him up, remember?
Man, now it looked all
I
silly.
told David to turn it over early, but he did.
I did.
He just wanted to get it done.
Good
Anyways.
evening,
I
people.
did.
Welcome to the end. God help you.
It is kind of, we are discussing the end still. We have been on this, I think last week or last time we talked about the fact that I assumed we would just talk about the end times in one sitting and then move on to something else. And now we are in this for the 4th week.
Well, you see, we've broken it down into little sections.
That are not so little.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all
Great
an hour
timing,
long.
because World War III is well underway. I mean, who knows what's happening by the time this is released?
By the time this is
We might be in a
released,
bunker.
A lot can happen.
we'll
in a
be
week.
like that AM, like we'll be doing our podcast from inside the mountain.
From
Instead of a
another
bunker with an AM frequency, just sending it out to all the crazy people with with tinfoil hats living in campers.
You knock tinfoil hats. But
Are they the crazy ones if they're the only ones that can hear it? They're probably
Well,
the sane ones in that situation.
those doomsday preppers are starting to sound more sane by the day.
That is true. The world is crazy right now, so it is actually interesting that we started this before all of the nutso stuff that's happening in Israel and in all of the. I mean, I know people are freaking out about that. Did we talk about last week? Like, we all have our opinions on what this all means, right? But we don't go around preaching the end is near any more than we did a month ago.
Yeah.
No, the
Right.
end is nigh.
Like, until, I mean, it seems like it's that, but it's not the first time that Israel's been in conflict and bad things have been happening.
And it's definitely
There's-
not the first time somebody has said, this is the end.
Well, yeah. And so
Syria
now,
hasn't attacked them before.
I think personally there are differences in this than there were ever before.
People said that in the past,
But,
too.
nobody expected the Holocaust either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is different than the last time. So there are things, I think that there are more things this time that line up with Scripture. But again, I'm sure last time people thought the same thing. So we don't go around saying, oh, the end is in a week or the end is in a month. I would say, though, now is a good time to get right, just in case.
Yeah.
Not a week or a month, but maybe a year.
Now,
Maybe
I'm
a
not
year.
going to say that it's not in a week or a month because I got no clue.
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea.
Prepare either way.
Yeah, it says not the day or the hour. We got a whole lot of wiggle room after that.
Yeah,
Maybe within weeks.
which is true. I mean, we can kind of narrow it down a little bit. And once things begin to unfold like we're talking about, you can really start to narrow it down. Right? I've always said from the moment that the tribulation starts, you have 7 years, period. Like you can start a stopwatch at that point because this is when all these things, and in 7 years, if you can last 7 years in that kind of environment,
More power to you.
more power to you.
Nothing. 7 years.
For David. Anyways, we are talking about the end times. I think I got sidetracked. I was saying that it's kind of interesting that we started this just before all of this started, all of the stuff in Israel, but it's very timely to be going through this. We've covered the seals, and then I think it took us, we started with the timeline, kind of an overview. Then we talked about the seals. Then last time we
beast?
talked about the mark of the
Mark of
beast.
the beast.
And then this time we're jumping into the trumpets, which the 7th seal actually opens for the trumpets. So, right, like I was picturing it this. I think I heard somebody else describe it like you have a scroll or a book, probably a scroll that has 7 seals on it, and each one pops open and something bad happens, and the last one pops open, and then the scroll unfolds, and now the trumpets come out.
Start the band.
Start the band. Yeah, they were given the sheet music for the band.
That's a
No,
great
That's
Right.
what the
idea.
scroll is.
That's what I'm
Nice.
saying. The
God's
scroll
the
is the sheet music for the
He's like, start the band up.
That's a horrible song.
It's gonna be.
It depends.
Tons of
Brutal
tritones.
song.
It depends. It's brutal from our perspective, and I was thinking about this today.
Lots of sharps and flats. And
Lots.
Those
hate
those
flats.
could sound
Let's
good
do minors.
in the right key signature.
But I was thinking about this today. It's horrible for us. And I don't think that God enjoys it by any means because of all of the destruction. And I think we have enough proof that says that God doesn't enjoy killing off the people that he created, right? But I also think from his perspective, I think it is possibly slightly joyous because he's getting to the point why everything had to happen, and that's to have his family with him and to have eternity start. And so I think at that point, I think for him it's kind of the way that I look at it. We're finally here.
Yeah.
You know, where we're getting to that spot. And I think he might have kind of the same, you know, to us it's like that is not a joyous song, but to him I think it might be more joyous because it's just
Yeah.
in his eyes. It's accomplishing a purpose, and it's the build up to when he finally gets his family. So for him, it might be a happy song. I don't know.
Well, and for Christians,
For Christians, it's a happy
It's a
song.
happy song,
And I think we
yeah.
even talked last week, or last time, or the time. I don't know. We talk about so much before the pod. We've been here for an hour now, just hashing out stuff. Regardless if you're pre, mid, primid, between the two, I don't know. Anyways, regardless of what stage you think the rapture is going to happen, still, yeah, we don't want to be tortured and all that kind of stuff, but it should still be joyous for us to know that regardless of what happens. And I was even having a conversation with my dad the other day. At that point, I think of the apostles who were going through some horrible stuff when they're like, I count it all joy. I'm going to see Jesus. So whatever they do to this body, I don't care. Whatever they do, it doesn't matter.
They didn't have hail and fire mixed with blood raining down on them.
No, instead they
so
were
joyous.
boiled in oil and then lived.
Yeah, that's true. Sure did it with a smile.
But we were talking about
Oh my God.
the different people who were martyred, and you find a lot of this in the Fox's Book of Martyrs, which is a very disturbing book. But you really see a lot of the strength that you get in that moment when you have the Holy Spirit and you believe in God, right? And you believe in Jesus. And we were discussing the people who were burned at the stake and they were singing songs all the way until they passed out or died, or people who were still testifying and preaching even while burning alive or being beheaded or whatever.
Irenaeus, he said that he served God his whole life. Why am I going to turn away from him now as he's being burned?
Yeah. But I think there's
Comforters.
something supernatural that has to happen there. I think God has to remove some of that pain, that suffering in that moment
I'm probably not saying any words if I'm being
for
burned
you
alive.
to be
think
able
he'd be
to be
real
singing
snarky about
or
it.
preaching or testifying or whatever through that.
Fix it.
I don't know. Or you just go into, I don't know. It's just I think back to the point, if we even started with the point,
It's in there.
I think
There's a
that
point
if
somewhere.
Christians
For it.
are going through that, our perspective will be a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there will be some fear because if you have families or loved ones or even your own self, I mean, there are certain things that I don't want to experience. But I think at the same time, though, there's probably going to be an overwhelming sense of closeness with God because you know that it's so near once all of this begins. And that, again, kind of like the apostles, whatever they do to me, it's going to suck. But at the end, it's going to be so minute and quick compared to what's going to happen. And right now, we don't always get that sense because we still think it's way off. But as soon as this stuff starts to unfold and that first seal is broken, man, I mean, I don't know. It's not far off anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, today we're talking about trumpets, which starts in chapter 8.
Chapter
Of
8,
Revelation.
not verse 8.
Not verse 8,
Chapter
yeah,
8.
beforehand.
Yeah.
With the
I get
joyous,
tongue-tied.
the joyous trumpeting sound of hail and fire.
Do you want to read the first trumpet?
Sure.
Since you're so excited about the hail and fire.
8:6. I just keep seeing it. I'm like, that sounds awful. And the
Go-
what you want
Go,
to know?
How would you even?
yeah.
Isn't hail like ice?
Yeah.
How would you
Yeah.
have hail and fire? Wouldn't it just like cancel out the hail?
You won't know what to think. The world's upside down at that point.
Yeah, so read the first trumpet.
So Revelations 8:6.
Yeah.
Oh, and the seven angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound them. The first sounded, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were thrown out to the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up.
It's a lot of burning.
That's a lot of burning.
It's a lot of burning.
Mixed with ice, though.
There's some ice in there somewhere, I guess.
Maybe it's
Ice balls that are on
volcanoes.
fire.
I was thinking some kind of volcano.
Fire
and
coming
then-
down from the volcano. Wow. Okay, here's what happens. Okay? Okay. There is a fragile roof to a volcano. Big piece of hail comes in, busts it open, activates the volcanoes. Fire and ice, baby.
Like that one scene from
Mixed
Wreck-It
with-
Ralph.
Mixed with blood.
Sure.
All right.
And that's the part that
Mixed with blood.
So,
Lava.
if I'm being honest,
Maybe.
that's the part that I
they
don't
probably knew what lava
understand
was.
so much.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Is why blood?
To make it sound
His
scarier.
perception of blood, though. Like,
Maybe it just looks like.
So
Yeah, it could just be just a red something.
maybe you just want to spice it up. Then there's blood.
Yeah, just like make it sound scarier.
So, it's the Greek word amia, which by implication bloodshed also kindred. So it could
It actually
be
means literally blood of men or animals.
yeah. So is it
figuratively
mingled
juice.
with blood, in the sense that it's falling
It
already
says-
covered in blood, or once it hits,
Or specifically the atoning blood of Christ by implication. I don't know.
I guess is it already have the blood in it when it's coming down, or is it when it hits? Now there's blood everywhere.
Hail and fire mixed with blood.
Here's what it
feel like
hit
it probably
a
caused
bird
a lot of
on a
bleeding.
way down, and that's where the blood came
Hit
from.
a bird on
Yeah.
the way down.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just common
Struck all the
sense. It
creatures in
would.
the sky.
A flock of birds.
Flock of seagulls.
Flock of seagulls. So I mean, I don't know. I guess it could be literal where it's mixed because it says mingled, but
I mean,
mixed.
this is God we're talking about. He's making fire and hail come down. Blood's not a problem.
But why the
Yeah.
blood? Like what is like the fire in the hell? So the ice is gonna hit and make kind of like cannonballs, right? It's just gonna be a drown shrapnel grenade. It's gonna destroy things that it hits. The fire obviously is gonna destroy the things. But why the blood? Just for the scary factor or like I don't know.
Probably.
And again, we,
I mean,
we
that would
probably
be
don't.
terrifying. Blood starts sprinkling on you as fire's coming at you. I mean,
Because if the stuff that came before this wasn't clear enough, God needs to make it abundantly clear.
the blood of the saints, he throws it on them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying it's not. I just
Yeah.
I don't know it. I don't understand it, and it doesn't make sense why there would be blood mixed with the fire and the hail, unless it's the fire and the hail that causes the blood. But again, I might be trying to over rationalize something that we
Says hail
cannot
and fire.
rationalize
Yeah.
Hail
in
and fire
Revelation.
mixed with blood.
Yeah.
And then they were thrown to the earth.
And they were cast upon the earth. Yeah, I don't know. But it's going to be deadly and gross.
The best thing I could think of is something like what he said, and some kind of lava, magma.
But it says blood though, so magma
That
isn't
is
blood.
true.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
very specific on what that word means too. It's not figurative on it's saying blood. So I mean, and again, there's a lot of figurative stuff, and there's a lot of, but I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's probably blood, but for what purpose, I don't know.
I'm sure that's the worst of it, though.
The blood, yeah. Well,
After that,
but
it's
when-
all downhill.
but we think
Oh,
about
no,
this.
it's not.
A
He's in for a
third,
wild ride.
a third part of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass. Think about the problems that we have now with the people. This is definitely not a green event here, right? Because we're not saving the environment. The environment is not saved. We have all this discussion about the air quality and what's happening to our ecosystems and our ozones because of the deforestation of the rainforests and such, right? And the impact that people are saying that's going to have. But now we have 1/3 of the trees that are gone
Yeah.
on the earth, and all of the grass is gone. That's going to make the air quality completely different, and also complete ecosystems
Does
are going to
say.
disappear to
Yeah.
where now animals, what are the livestock going to eat? What are the deer going to eat? What are the animals that we're going to think about this, okay? And I hadn't thought about it just now. Doomsday preppers, mid-trib preppers are like, it's fine. I don't gotta take. Let's put this all together. I don't gotta take the mark of the beast because I'll grow and hunt my own food.
Food.
But what's gonna be left once all the grass is gone, and 1/3 of the trees? Your wild animals are gonna dwindle to almost nothing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, if all the trees are gone. I mean,
Because your deer eat the grass, your cows eat the grass.
Your
If
birds
there's no
nest in the
grass,
trees.
if there's no grass, they're going to eat the leaves. But now the leaves are all gone.
that circle of
Um,
life is gone.
Yeah, it is. It's gone. So the survivability has now become more difficult if you're rejecting the Antichrist, if you're rejecting the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think, well, I just won't do that. I'll go live in the woods and I'm going to just live off the land.
It's on fire.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully
woods
your
are
part,
gone.
hopefully your part is the part that didn't waste away.
Yeah.
But even
and
then,
then you're gonna have a bunch of people coming to find your woods.
and not just them, but predators.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the predators are looking
need
for
food.
and so
Yeah.
they're coming to the places that are still green to be able to eat there. So now you're not only fending off other crazy people, you're also fending off wild beasts that are coming. You know, what I mean, it's
And your cachet of tuna. Tuna's getting real low.
Well, and think about how terrible our air quality is when we have fires here in Oregon. I mean,
Yeah, dude.
What was it? What years was it? 2020?
It's a couple years
2020.
ago
Well,
when
even
it was
even
all
this
around
year it
us.
was pretty
It looked
bad.
Terrible.
Remember,
But I
like
feel like this year didn't touch 2020.
No,
was a
this
couple
year
years
wasn't
ago.
nearly as bad.
Yeah.
there was like no escape. It was all around us. just
No, it was
fires.
off. Your field of vision, your what's the word? Your visibility was like 300 yards.
I think you sent me a picture. Something looked like the apocalypse was going
Yeah,
on. It was just
seriously.
Yeah, it would be a lot worse if a third of all trees did that.
because it's not
And
sucking
all
it
of the
back up and
grass.
fixing it.
Mm-hmm. Any
Um,
senior
and
adult
man-
that has any lung problems.
Well, and to
Gone.
think how much,
Jeez.
how much, how
I mean,
much,
I mean, come on.
Getting very macabre here.
how much smoke that's going to put into the air.
Yeah.
But still not as much smoke as what's going to come later.
I was just going to say, this is the start.
This is the beginning.
It makes
of the
sense when he talks about
trumpets.
the sun being blotted out, though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that happens later.
Right.
Not even here yet with that much smoke that's
I honestly
covering.
start thinking about like Yellowstone and the parks blowing up and around the world, even. You know.
Yeah.
the movie
Big
2012.
volcanoes. Was that it?
The movie 2012, yeah. They were in Yellowstone National Park. And,
Yeah.
you know, Charlie, the crazy guy, had his radio station.
It's a
and
giant
it's
volcano.
beautiful.
I was thinking about him actually when I was talking about that earlier. And that movie and him because he's in his RV with his hat doing
Yeah.
his thing. Yeah. Anyways.
It's terrifying. You ever seen the pictures of Mount St. Helens the photographer took?
Yeah.
About right before he died, he snapped pictures and then covered the camera. It looks terrifying.
It absolutely. And we're not
Wow.
even to that part yet.
Yeah.
Like that's just hail
Hail and
and
fire
fire
blood.
falling from the sky
Don't forget the blood.
and the blood.
And the blood.
It's
For
gonna
some
be
reason.
it's gonna be deadly and gross.
And there's more blood to come.
And
I'm
there's
reading.
more blood to come. But anyways, yeah. So I think we sometimes miss some of the intricacies of each of these things that's happening because now ecosystem is
Well, we're
completely
breaking
changed.
them down now.
Yeah. But the ecosystem has changed. Air quality has changed. Life as we know it and our backup plans for hunting and fishing and well the fishing is still here but that's going to go away in the next one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I mean
and everyone that's got plans, imagine if you're on vacation. Your plans mean nothing because you had to go to Disney. Good luck.
oh, could you imagine being in Disney when this all started? It might be a safe place.
Just walk out.
'Cause they're all worshiping the devil anyways.
I just swim under the
No, I'm
ocean and
kidding.
just whatever. Just done.
It's like I'm going out on one of the roller coasters. I was gonna try and come up with one of the names, and I couldn't think of it. So anyway,
The Black Pearl.
Incredicoaster.
Magic Mountain.
yeah, Magic Mountain.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Be honest, it's a small world with your kids. That'd be the worst.
no.
That is hell. That is already the apocalypse in my brain.
That's the only place in the park that's still standing.
You're stuck in it.
That ride
Torture
never ends ever. It just never. It goes on forever. Anyway.
Yeah, let's talk about Disney some more.
Just picture the entire park is just in rubble. But that one ride.
And you
is
come
still
rolling out.
playing
perfect
its
condition.
song.
And it
My
doesn't
life
stop
couldn't get
right
any
on.
worse.
You just keep going.
You can't get out. It's just
That's God's wrath right there.
Anyways, so yeah, back to this. All of your backup plans they're gone.
Yeah.
Like all of the things, it's gone. It's
Cardboard bunker that you bought.
yeah.
Dead.
cardboard wouldn't really last anyways.
What's the next one? Who wants to read the next one?
Next one, verse number 8.
8.
It says the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed.
So the word mountain there is what, Oros?
More blood.
Literally means mountain. So something like
A mountain.
Like a mountain.
The only thing that comes to my mind is just some giant asteroid, some giant meteor.
Well,
I don't even
so
know. Because that would be on fire.
Yeah, it says
But-
burning with fire.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
let's look at this, okay? So in the
Great mountain
first
burning
one,
with fire,
That comes
yeah.
to my mind.
Yeah.
in the first one, the fire and hell was cast up on the earth.
Hmm.
So from heaven, whatever, from the sky, it falls down. This one just says
Into the sea.
that a mountain fell into the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a great mountain burning with fire.
Mine says
was
thrown.
cast. Well, it says it was cast into the sea.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it. So the other was cast upon the earth. This was cast into the sea. It very well. I don't think we're ever going to figure this part out because I'm thinking it could be a meteor, another meteor. I'm just picturing like literally like the shape of a mountain, like the cone shape of a mountain just falling out of the sky. For the last week
That would
I've-
be very comical.
Perfectly connular.
yeah,
and
just like
God, it's just be funny. There's a mountain.
just a mountain falling, just a mountain.
You just look
or like maybe just Mount Rushmore falling out of the sky, all the faces on it.
That'd be even funnier.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, it could be a meteor, a giant meteor, but now we've had hail, and now we have meteor
The hail could be a precursor to the meteor, though.
to the well, and that is true. I didn't think about that.
Because they
Yeah.
don't just come by themselves.
Yeah,
They break up and.
You know what?
Saturn's belt has some break off. And the little stuff gets here first, is what we're saying.
Well, and sometimes
Potentially.
your large meteors are surrounded by debris.
And if there was a big
right?
meteor coming, I think there's supposed to be one passing the Earth pretty soon, actually.
Of course there is.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Haley's Comet.
And it was supposed to be dangerously close. They were talking about it a couple years ago.
Oh, snap.
It's all lining up.
This is,
The war in Israel.
I gotta go.
Go hug my wife.
So I think that actually makes a lot of sense. That the hail could be the precursor of the comet. It's the debris and the stuff that's coming with it. That would make
Because you
sense.
could have a meteor break up in space and
Yeah,
get slowed down. And you got stuff coming in front of it.
that makes sense.
That'd have to
Or-
be a pretty huge chunk of ice, though, for it to still be hail
Dude,
by the time it hits the
Space
Earth.
has big stuff out there.
Yeah.
It does have big stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Planets, stars.
Beetlejuice.
So it could.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
probably the general consensus is that it's a comet or a
Mhm.
meteor. I think it could possibly be though, like a volcano.
Mhm.
That as it erupts, it breaks and fall. It crumbles into the ocean or whatever.
I was kind of thinking
Uh,
San Andreas Fault when it broke, or the Cascadius
Yeah.
Abductus.
So it could be that, but
I don't know if there'd be enough devastation
kill.
from that, though.
Yeah, that's
I
what
don't know
I'm thinking.
if our
A third
western
of-
border broke.
A third of the ships on the entire planet,
But-
though, in all of the water,
Do you
are
understand
destroyed.
that catastrophe is going to happen when our fault line goes?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna be bad. But I do think
I don't know.
I think a
Is that gonna be
meteor
burning
does
with
make
fire?
more sense to wipe out a third of all of the life in the ocean and destroy all the ships.
Yeah.
A third of the ships, but a third of all of the life. And it's going to be filled with blood at that point. I mean,
It's probably
And-
some
and
nuclear reactor.
it makes sense that it'd be filled with blood. If you have a third of all of the ocean to dying at once, there's going to be a lot of blood all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But either way, I lean more towards the comet or the meteor because I think, especially, when we first started, I was thinking more of the mountain volcano thing. But then you brought up the hail could be the precursor, what's coming in front of the comet or the meteor.
Well,
that makes sense.
I was just thinking, what about Fukushima, that nuclear reactor? I mean, what would John think a nuclear reactor is? Something like a mountain that fell in, radiation.
I don't know what
everything's
that looks like.
Yeah,
The nuclear reactor.
that's a fair point
Could be.
too.
I looked up
I don't know what
if
that
there's
looks
a meteor coming to Earth soon, and they said there's going to be no significant impacts for another 100 years. So,
So they say.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how credible it is, but that's what I saw. So,
Interesting.
Google.
How
Sources.
far apart are these things?
Sources
I want to know
say.
so bad.
Yeah, I feel like they
The
can't. They
the space
can't
between the
be.
trumpets.
Well,
Because if it was the hail, if it was a precursor to the meteor, I feel like there wouldn't be that much space in between time-wise.
Yeah, maybe a week
Mm.
or a couple days.
Mm.
I wouldn't expect months. But you
It was
think
just like bang, 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 and then a little break. The fourth one.
somebody can leave in the comments if I'm incorrect, but because I'm not going to go look it up, so I'll just wait for you to correct me on the comments. But I believe that the trumpets and the seals all happen within the first 3.5 years. And then the wrath portion is the second 3.5 years. So all of this devastation has to happen within 3.5 years.
Well, I was just looking up the ships part. It says the third of the ships were destroyed, but the word also means to waste away. So, I mean, could just be stuff out there not working and just being destroyed. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Once all this happens, they're just unusable.
Yeah. You got a bunch of ships out there floating around.
Yeah, a third of the ships now are just unusable. That makes sense too. That makes probably more sense.
Some kind of
The-
EMP.
The state of the state of the water at that point, and probably a lot of the lack of water. When you think of something that, thinking of a meteor hitting the ocean, killing hitting the ocean hard enough to destroy a third of the,
but not kill the planet.
but not kill the planet, but a third of all of the fish are gone. There's probably a lot of displaced water now where the boats are toppled or just sitting or pushed
Well,
up on land
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now they're broken and unusable. Maybe not just rubble,
We're
but
back to 2012, the movie. Yep.
The cruise liner
All of them.
all of them.
New York.
flipped.
There's probably gonna be a lot of flooding then. That
I think
happens
there's gonna be a
probably
lot
too,
of
huh?
There's gonna have to be monsoons, tidal waves, whatever.
Yeah.
What's the ones? The
Tsunami.
tsunami. That come from a lot of the things that are coming between the earthquakes and the different things hitting the water. Yeah, absolutely. Which is going to, again, displace a lot of water. It's going to push ships places where they're not supposed to be. And then I do think it will destroy a lot in the actual sense of destroy. It'll sink a lot, flip them over or whatever. But I think what you're saying could make sense too, where they're just displaced and unusable at that point, just worthless.
Yeah.
Which is still kind of crazy. So after that, so now we have a third of all of the trees, all of the grass. So now most of your land-based animals are gone, and then you have a third now of all of the fish in the sea that are gone. And then the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. This is definitely probably a meteor or comet of some sort, probably smaller. So if we think of this, you
I think
have
it's a giant mirror broke up.
if you have a giant meteor, you have the hail coming first.
hits Pluto or something and just
Well, yeah. It doesn't even have to hit that.
Or,
I've
I mean,
seen pictures
Jupiter.
of like you have the tail of the meteor of this just more debris behind it. So you have the hail that comes in front of it. Again, this is all just conjecture to anybody. We're just brainstorming this, but you have the hail that comes in front of it. It does all of that. Then the actual meteor hits, and then you have a smaller meteor or comet that's part of the tail that comes in because it hits the rivers. So it says, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star, which in my mind seems bigger than a mountain, but it does less damage. So a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers. So it doesn't fall in every river. It falls. So does it break up, or this would be a geography question, I guess. Does it break up and hit multiple rivers, or does it hit a major river source that feeds, like a major river that now feeds into what would be considered a third of the rivers all over the earth?
You know, our water comes from big underground supplies. So I mean, could it affect that somehow?
Like the aquifer and the
Yeah. I mean, you got one in South America, you got one in North America.
possibly. If it
I just don't see how it could affect springs and rivers unless it affects the main
unless it went
water
deep,
source.
I'm not sure. Because it doesn't make sense that it would
I lean
that
more
it would
towards
hit a bunch of the
break off.
different rivers, right? But a third of the rivers are affected by this. So now I'm curious. I mean, like I said, geography question. Is there a river? I can't think of the word. A network of rivers somewhere in
Like
the
off
world
Nile or something.
that would that would be considered. That's a third of all of the rivers in.
I think if you hit the big ones, the Nile, the Amazon, Mississippi, I mean, they probably take up a third.
Rivers, yeah, because
Yeah.
everything that they're feeding
Mhm.
at that point covers a lot. And again, here, well, let's finish reading it. Upon the, excuse me,
11.
and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. So I think that'd be your springs.
Mhm.
And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. So wormwood is a very incredibly toxic root or
Yeah, I just thought
Plant
I
or
just thought it was a
tree or
plant
something.
of some kind.
plant something. Anyways, it is a real thing here, but I didn't know until I was doing some research on this. Apparently, wormwood is outlawed completely in some countries because of how deadly it is.
Didn't some country make a nuke and they nicknamed it Wormwood or something like that?
I wouldn't
I'm
doubt
not
it.
sure.
I'm gonna look.
David always goes back to the nukes. He's always going back to.
He's very nuclear.
Stuff's heating up.
But which if it was nuke, that would also work.
Mm-hmm.
And would make sense, but it would affect more. If it was a nuke, that would
And
affect more than just the
Ezekiel-
rivers.
Ezekiel talks about stuff that sounds like nukes going off anyways.
It does, but that would affect more than just the rivers. But
Wormwood
it
in
doesn't say
Russian-
it doesn't affect more than the
Wormwood
rivers.
in
Yeah.
Russia meets Chernobyl. Sources say.
Sources.
Sources
According to
say
one
what?
Redditor.
Wormwood in Russia meets Chernobyl.
Means Chernobyl?
Meats.
Means. Means.
It means.
Means.
Oh. Oopsies.
Oh,
I'm gonna
My
Google
bad.
so
Chernobyl.
wormwood in Russia means Chernobyl.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see.
But that didn't destroy a third of the waters or rivers in the world.
Yet.
Yeah.
Well, I think at that point there's still going to be, I would imagine there's still going to be wars going on because of the desperation for resources.
Absolutely. Like we're getting to Mad Max
So-
style right now.
So I don't think for a second
We reference a lot
I'm
of
not.
movies.
I don't know if I'm committed to this idea. I don't think for a second that chemical warfare would not be reintroduced.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they only, like the nuke, they only have to send one over to the right area, and I don't know, maybe stuff splits off. But the other thing I was thinking about is you briefly mentioned something about something hitting a planet earlier. If the atmospheres on different planets, I don't remember which one specifically. I know for sure Jupiter, but there was other atmospheres. Not just the air that's on the planet, but also like the material that the planet's made out of is incredibly toxic. So I wonder now, you said it earlier and it got me thinking, if maybe, I mean, planets are colliding with one another at this point out in space, potentially. I'm not saying they are, but potentially, and a chunk of that breaks off
And that's
and
what's coming
pollutes
towards us.
everything. Because, I mean, we already talked about the hail potentially being that, the meteor hitting the
Mountain.
water being potentially that. Why not this?
Yeah,
Why not this?
that would make sense.
Because, I mean, we don't drink seawater anyway,
Well, and that's the thing.
so we wouldn't
if
really.
we have to look at what's happening globally right now, right?
Mhm.
So the trees and the grass, done. The
Mhm.
land animals are gone. Now in the ocean, a third of all the fish in the ocean are gone. So now I'm not going fishing.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to have to go to the rivers and the streams to find food.
Mm-hmm.
But now that water is poisonous.
Yeah.
So, and then back to what I was saying, wormwood is so poisonous that even some countries have outlawed it in the country. So for him to call this wormwood, even back then they understood just how toxic this plant was, that now this thing falling from heaven, this star falling from heaven, is so toxic. So nobody will be able to drink the water, nothing will be able to live. Again, anything that lived around that river is going to die because it can't drink. So the wildlife there is going to die. People are not going to be able to find water to be able to drink. So now you're going to have, people, it even says, many men died of the waters because they were made bitter, because it was made bitter, because the rivers now are poisonous to people. So your land animals, can't harvest them for food.
Yeah.
Can't go fishing in the ocean because they're all gone. Now most of the fish in the rivers and all that can't go. Plus now we don't have a lot of clean water to drink.
You're stuck with maggots.
You're stuck with-
Maggots, crickets, cockroaches. That's your food.
Was it last time we were talking about, or was it the time before? We're getting back to the story in Second Kings where people are trading their entire livelihoods for dung
For
droppings.
droppings.
Yeah, like we thought that we weren't even to this point yet. We were just thinking about just during the seals. Now
Yeah.
we're here where all of the extra backup food options are disappearing.
I'm starting to stock up on it.
That's the tuna.
The other thing that I think about with the wormwood too, I don't think that all of that toxicity in the water has to come just from the star that was named wormwood. Once that happens, any water that's toxic is going to be put back into the water. I don't know what you'd call it. Water. There's a word for it. The water circulatory system. Water cycle. Thank you. That water's gonna run out and it's gonna go wherever it's gonna go, and it's gonna evaporate and turn back into rain clouds, and it's gonna move in and it's gonna affect some other area now. It doesn't all have to happen
Just
at once.
Spreads
Because
exponentially.
again, there's 3.5 years for all this stuff to occur, so it doesn't all have to happen right away.
And I think when we think about 3.5 years for all this to occur, it seems like a long time. But unless you're living in it, and then it probably seems like even more like an eternity. Like each of these things are
Yeah.
just, when really 3.5 years is pretty short.
Yeah.
But spend it in jail. Always feels like
Yeah.
forever.
But also days might go quickly because there's so much catastrophe. Like your adrenaline is going constantly. There are things happening that those
Well,
3.5
isn't God
years.
quickening the time continually?
Yeah, I think at some point it does say he had to shorten it. Like his wrath was originally planned for this long, all of this, and he's like, but if I don't shorten it, there's literally going to be nothing left on the earth,
Yeah.
and that defeats the purpose. So he had to bring it in a little bit.
So this is like
So
chilled
glad he
version.
toned
Yeah,
it
yeah,
down.
Yeah, this is the tone down. He's taking it easy on us.
Oh my goodness.
So, were you gonna say something?
No.
Oh, again, I just kind of want to keep this tracking
Yeah.
together. Land animals are gone, fish are gone, water's now basically
Grass,
useless.
trees,
Grass,
everything.
yeah. There's not. So
Golf courses.
I didn't think about. Oh,
The golf courses.
When you think it can't get
We
any
were
worse.
we were fine
They can
until I thought about the grass.
they could just put
greens
in
were gonna be
fake
open.
grass.
yeah, just
It's
fake
okay.
grass. The entire
Just
thing.
put
now
in
is just
fake
Everything will be
grass.
sand.
It's
We'll
all
just be
right.
bunker shots all day. Whatever.
You only need a wedge, nothing else. Now you just walk around with a wedge.
Par 97.
Just. Anyways.
Had to say
Oh,
something.
what I had just thought about as I was going through this again. Your berries, your fruits, all that's part of the trees.
Yeah.
Like there really is
Canned tuna.
canned tuna, canned
Beets.
tuna, beets, beans,
Man.
beans.
All the taters.
Yeah.
And think about like any rodents alive because they'll survive. They're gonna be coming trying to get what you got because there's nothing else.
Yeah. I'm
You're
trying to
gonna
get
be
you.
diving on the ground to go grab a rat and just eat it.
You have to get quick.
Yeah.
Work on your
You got a
speed and
beard
agility.
That's like growing out way down here and looks
So
like a crazy person.
the next one. You want to read that one, David? Verse 12.
Yeah. Sorry.
You don't gotta apologize.
I will.
Oh well.
I'm just pulling.
It's hard with all the words in there.
Yeah.
It's hard to read.
Mine too.
Oh yeah, that's impossible. The fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were struck, so that the third of them would be darkened, and the day would not shine for a third of it, and the night in the same way. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Tons of thirds.
Then I looked, and I heard an eagle flying in mid-heaven, saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to these who dwell on the earth." Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow, wow, wow. Borat now. Because of the remaining blast of the trumpet and of the three angels who are about to sound.
So let's go back to verse 12 and we'll get into 13. So this we were talking about this before we started recording tonight. A third part of the sun was smitten. So we were talking. It could have been smoke or clouds or whatever. It says it's smitten, so it's been damaged in some way. Maybe as planet pieces or asteroids or comets or whatever are coming, it hits a part of the sun.
Giant coronal mass ejection. That could be it.
What did you just say?
I was thinking the same thing.
Right? It's like a sunburst. The sun flares up, you know?
And then just
Coronal
breaks
mass
part of it
ejection.
off.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Sorry.
He's one of these cool fancy words that none of us even know what it is.
The only word I understood was ejection.
Ejection, mass ejection.
Mass ejection.
Yeah.
The main
that
part
one
of
word
it.
or two
That's
words?
the main part. It's hyphenated.
But a third part of the sun is smitten, and a third part of the moon is also smitten, and the third part of the stars.
What
As
word
the
is yours
third
for
part of them
smitten?
was darkened, huh?
What word is smitten on yours?
Third
I got
part
pleso
I have struck.
smitten,
to
yeah,
strike.
so,
Okay. Sorry.
to pound, to inflict with, smite. So
To hit, basically.
Yeah, it's hit.
to
Okay.
hit. It's been hit. Something's hit it, and now it's gone dark. A third part of it, though, and so like
What
before,
could hit the sun and make it dark?
to make the
When I was a
third?
kid, I always thought if something hit the sun, it would explode and we'd all die.
Yeah.
So that's what. Just when I was
That's
a
the
kid, I thought
logical
that,
conclusion.
so.
Well, and most things, but think about this though. Most things that get close to the sun just evaporate or disintegrate,
Get
not
destroyed,
evaporate. They just
yeah.
get destroyed. So something to strike it is either God Himself striking it,
Or another star.
or
'Cause no, anything big enough to do
Another
it would destroy
star?
our solar
Yeah, would
system.
that's what. Yeah,
Everybody's done.
But now we have the moon. A third of the moon is dark. A third of the stars are gone, or at least dark, and a third of the sun is
Maybe
gone.
something large can move in front of it. You know,
It says smitten though, struck.
Yeah, it's
that's pretty.
And it's not just the sun; it's the sun, the moon, and a third of
And
the
a third
stars.
of the stars.
Well, yeah, that would
Can you
affect
imagine
everything.
how cool that would be to watch just all the stars way out there, just
How-
all at once?
it just
No, that is
disappear.
nightmare
Yeah,
fuel
that's
right
gonna be
there. You're just staring at the
awesome.
sky, and all of a sudden, just like it all goes black.
well,
like-
just
No,
a
no,
third of it.
It's not like a switch. It's like they're all blowing up. It's like fireworks.
Oh my
up in the
God,
sky.
cool.
Yeah,
I'll be
it's like
terrified.
4th of July, guys. It's just like the 4th
We're like
of
light
July.
years away.
Think about this.
This is all after you just got done with fire and blood and rain and
Yeah.
Meteors hitting the
and it
earth.
might
And
be-
explosions
it
At
in
that
space.
point, you're like, what's next?
It might be comforting, all this stuff falling from the sky, and then there's just less to fall from the sky now.
How much could he have up there?
But it has to be scientifically. So it has
We're
to be.
way past science.
Well, no. It has to be a supernatural thing that God does.
Right.
Otherwise, it has to happen, or it has to have already happened. Right? For the star, because the light to get to us is already, like, we're seeing last year's light,
Yeah.
or last 50 years light, or whatever, right?
7 light years light.
Yeah. So we're seeing, so the technically, the sun could be black right now, and we wouldn't know it. Right? For so long, because it takes, or however long, for the sunlight to actually
The
reach
speed
us.
of light.
Yeah. Right? So the same thing about the stars. Like, we're seeing history actually in the
I think
stars.
we're close
I don't know if
enough to
light years
where
apply with our sun.
I think we're close enough to where
Okay,
it doesn't
maybe not
matter.
our
But
sun.
the
That's
other-
why it's
the
hot.
other
But the
stars,
stars.
Because like I said, the coronal mass ejections, they affect our weather patterns right now. So
Okay.
like if it blows, then we don't have clouds.
But
or-
the other stars
We're all
all have to have
seared.
gone black already
Yeah.
for us to then miss them, right? And again, I have no idea. You guys are educating me because I'm just talking science and I don't know science. But
no, it makes sense.
technically,
if
from
the
what I
sun
understand,
went black, it would take 8 minutes for us to know.
okay,
And die.
and die.
Die.
it's the longest 8 minutes of your life.
You don't even know. Yeah.
It would literally just be like, oh, we're fine. Done.
That's what makes me curious about the meteorites, because they say if a planet killer was coming, by the time you saw it, it's too late. You wouldn't be able to. It's moving so fast. So something that big to cause devastation. It's kind of
I'm just saying, on this, it has to be supernatural.
yeah.
Otherwise, it
That
had
God just
already
flicks
have
it.
happened in order for us to even notice that it is happening. You know what I mean? For the stars, not the sun or the moon. But so I think it is God's just like done, and then a third of the sun is gone. And it doesn't. I mean, we were talking about for the podcast. That's really hard for me to think about. But again, when we put it in the context of what's happening for all of this stuff, so the ecosystem, as far as greenery, is gone. Animals are dying everywhere on land, sea, whatever. But now
Here comes an ice age.
Now you have at 8 hours of the day, if a third of the sun is gone and it's rotating and we're rotating around it, 8 hours of the day, there is zero sunlight. It is going to get very cold.
Plus all the
If it was just
debris
like
in the atmosphere.
on a day-
Anyways.
Yeah, and now you have the debris in the atmosphere. You have all of this.
That's an ice age.
That is an ice age. So now you have things
I didn't
freezing,
hear you either.
Oh.
which is going to affect if the lack of trees
This
already.
guy thinks it's going to be pretty cool.
Did you say dimmer switch?
I said, what if it was just like dimmer? You know, like the sun just shrunk.
Like it's going to supernova. I'm just kind of.
Yeah.
'Cause
Because
they-
like,
Well, it does just say darkened. It doesn't say gone out.
yeah, because like
It would if
sun,
the size.
The sun
does
is
say-
100 times the size of Earth.
It does say to.
It's now just
well,
66
And if the
times
sun-
the size of Earth.
If the sun was shrunken or somehow, then the light reflect off the moon would be equal.
But
yeah.
I want to go back to something. Looking up this word, darkened, to obscure. So maybe something is blocking it.
I think there's going to be a lot of smoke and debris
A lot of
floating around.
Trash and either way,
It's gonna be pretty cold.
it's going to be cold.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Think about
buy a couple
like
jackets.
dusk, right as the sun comes up over the horizon.
No, because
it
you
is
still go back to smitten.
freezing. It is
Yeah,
freezing.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, David.
It's just
Well,
that
what's the
all the
smitten?
time.
What's the smitten all about?
But
You
but then
still got to go back to
smitten-
the
yeah, you still
struck.
gotta go back to the smitten.
Oh, true.
Either way, again, it's going to be cold.
Not
now,
cool,
freezing.
cold.
Cold.
Because there's now
Very
no,
cold, yeah.
there's no, and dark.
I was thinking of
It's
cool
going to be
joke.
cold and dark because if the moon is supposed to be there for night, but for part of the night the moon's not even giving light and not even the stars.
It
Now
really
it's dark
sounds
and
like
cold.
hell on earth.
Even the sun now, but the moon isn't picking up where the sun's slacking. So even in the daytime, it's going to be dark and cold. So now the rest of the ecosystem is not getting the sunlight that it needs to grow the trees and the grass and all the stuff back, right? And now we're just having cold, frigid horribleness.
It must be like Antarctica, but
The
like
more we
Granted,
go,
there still might be most of the world on fire. So if you just go near where that's at,
the
you'll
more
just
we
still-
go, the more I think about preparing for the end is impossible because you'd have to evacuate North America if it's that cold. Go
Yeah.
south, and like, what are you gonna take all your stuff with you? Like, you're not gonna have gas. Like,
I keep going back to the third of the sun being gone. If and all of this, if we're wrong on one part of this, and then I feel like we're wrong on a lot of it, because we keep tying together the meteor like through the different stages, right?
Oh, yeah.
The one that
which
struck
they could be completely wrong on it.
the,
Well,
yeah, the hail and the
Regardless
fire
of what
and the-
causes it, though,
Yeah.
our ending conversation right now, the world is a mess. Everything's dead. The
Yeah.
ecosystem is trashed, and now we're in an ice age.
Yeah. But yeah, again, on the third, you said, was the word smitten used for a third of the sun was struck or
Struck.
something?
So it says a third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So it's combining them all in there. It didn't say something
It says,
different
yeah.
happened to
Yeah.
them.
The sun, the moon, the stars were all struck.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least as far as the sun goes, the sun is, I mean, it's just a big ball of fuel, essentially. If Mars collided in with the sun, okay, Mars is going to get eaten up, but what that's going to do is that's going to burn through a lot of the fuel that's there. Something larger comes in and strikes it.
The problem
I was thinking earlier, what if like another planet in our solar system just gets destroyed? And we're
But
just-
the problem, though, is if Mars goes into the sun.
It would have to be bigger than Mars, I think.
Well, I'm just
But,
saying, if
yeah.
any of the planets go into the sun,
Jupiter goes in there. Yeah,
it doesn't matter which one. Any of the planets,
Yeah.
our entire solar system now begins to fly apart. And now,
It's all
and now
imbalance.
gravity doesn't work the same way. All of the stuff, and
Wouldn't
like,
that happen anyway? If the sun was a third the size?
well, it doesn't say that it was a third the size. It just says that it was
Third
smitten and a
was-
third
yeah.
darkened. So it's broken. I'm not saying it's busted off. I'm just saying it's broken. There's just no light, which would make sense. And I think we talked about this too. I mean, it says that the moon was also smitten, but if the moon and the sun, because the moon's reflecting the sun,
Yeah.
right? And I think you already mentioned that, and I was just chatting away.
He did.
But it says smitten again. The moon was smitten, so I don't know how that's all going to work. I
Yeah.
don't know if it gets smaller or even broken off. It's just broken.
Can't break. I imagine it would implode if anything.
Yeah.
If it becomes, I mean, I don't know. We need Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't think he'd be much help on this topic.
Start talking about just nonsense. He'd fit right in.
Fit right in. We talk about a lot of nonsense, but
We had an episode about it.
I think you're right
we have a
though.
whole episode about it.
It just got to be something supernatural that God
I
does.
think it has
And
to
if
be supernatural.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, all of this is at some point supernatural, right? Because
Mhm.
where did even the comet? Where did it come from?
Yeah,
Where
because if the source I looked at was reliable and we know about every significant event for the next 100 years,
was it a meme you looked at?
no, no. But
It's
I
on its
mean,
way here.
it would have to just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it would just
'Cause-
have to appear.
Nibiru.
Well, and that's what I don't know if it was David or Taryn was saying earlier, that it would have to be moving so fast by the time we even realized it was on its way, it'd already be here.
Yeah. By the
But-
time you
But
saw
I
it
mean,
and
quite
registered,
literally what you just said,
'cause,
it would
like-
have to appear out of nowhere. Literally, that's exactly what would
you
have to
see
happen.
these apocalypse movies where the meteorites come in and they're watching it, but yeah, they say by the time you see it, it's already too late.
It's on you. You don't got time to fly up there and drill holes in the comet and sing a fancy song and cry
Send
a little
Superman
bit.
up there.
Bruce Willis could save us.
yeah. I can just go up there and just knock them.
Yeah. You're
Um,
gonna be cheating since you're wrestling for a college right now. You were Superman.
Keep it under wraps.
That's
But
how you tech fault the kid.
we are at
Oh, here you go. The asteroid 2023 BU will pass by the planet over the southern tip of South America around 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time. They wrote this in January 25th of 2023. So
Yeah,
is this
I
for
thought that
Saturday?
already happened. I thought that happened in
Did
like August. I thought-
It's gonna make a circle, come back around.
slingshot effect.
Yeah.
it
Like
says
the- like-
October
Like that one bird from Angry
29th.
Birds.
This is what?
Nothing. I don't know. I'm not going to read this whole article. Find out for yourself, people. We can't do all the work.
The next part. So everything's basically dead.
Yeah.
Right. And this
Yeah.
so far it hasn't said that a third of the population is.
And we're only
dying.
halfway
it's just,
done.
It's just we're only in the fourth angel, right? But
Whoa.
but then the next one is, and I don't think this part is literal. I don't think there's actually going to be an eagle
There's
flying
no way.
over
Yeah, there's no
saying
way.
"whoa." I think
Wow, wow,
Air
wow.
Force
but-
One. You got a megaphone.
Biden just losing his mind.
But it does.
Come on, man.
It says the eagle is screaming, "Whoa, whoa, woe to those who are going to see the next part," or whatever. Whoa,
'Cause
to
of the remaining
to
blasts.
the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet. Basically, it's about to get way worse.
So much worse than everything already being dead.
Yeah, like we're in a possible ice age. Most of the life, the wildlife on Earth is dead, which is now causing. Remember, and we already have famine from the seals.
Yeah.
So now
And disease.
it is
And
famine and disease. But
A
then
bunch
also
of
think
people
about
already
this.
dead.
Disease
Sun's
is going to increase.
Gone, moon's
because of how much
gone, stars
just
are gone.
Exponential.
Rotting flesh.
Yeah.
And lack of medicine in general.
And just and lack of medicine, but now
Everybody's having
we just have
babies.
rotting flesh and even rotting fruit and I mean, just there's so much rot happening on the earth at this point that disease is going to increase, sickness is going to increase.
It's like you get an abscess tooth, you could die.
yeah,
Get some infection and done.
and so now the crops are gone from the famine. Now all the wildlife are gone from all of this, and sickness is increased. And whoa,
You
it's
haven't
about to
seen
get
nothing.
way
You thought that was bad.
worse. And now we have the three woes.
Mm.
Do you want to get into the three woes tonight? How long have we been going?
It's been almost an hour. Almost.
I know you flipped that
7:20.
over a little bit early, but I
Yeah.
think we go through the woes.
I think we started at
I
thought it
think
was
we
like
got
6:36 and it's now 7:27.
Yeah.
So.
We got about 10 minutes before we hit an hour.
Before we hit an hour, do we want to
Yeah.
just cut it now, or do we go into the three woes?
I think the woe should be another episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's cut it and come back.
What
for
was
the
there
three
another
lows.
I think we should keep going.
3-1.
I'll take David's back.
Nah.
Dude, what? You flipped it.
Yeah, I'll take David's back.
Okay.
Traitor.
All
It's
right.
still no. It's down the center. There's no.
Yeah,
It's a
but
tie.
before it
What?
was decided,
It
and now
was
it's not
3-1.
decided anymore.
Wait.
Oh, no.
We could have already started on the woes.
Fine,
Yeah.
Now we're getting
we're
behind.
doing.
Anyways, who knows if we'll even have another
we're-
time.
We're doing. We're
This might be the final broadcast.
the final.
You
broadcast.
heard it first.
No,
from
let's do the woes. Let's do the woes
Charlie.
next time.
Nobody.
And what?
I made a joke about the movie 2012. The guy.
Dude,
crazy
I'm going
guy.
home and watching that tonight.
It's a good movie.
Is it?
Well, It's mostly a good.
It's not a bad movie.
I think the
Yeah.
message here is get right with Jesus.
Yeah.
You know,
That's usually the message.
Well, that is.
Yeah.
I
in
think
church.
every time that is the
because
message.
this is gonna be awful.
Well, it is going to be awful.
Yeah.
It is. So two things, right? You're either going to miss it all, which, yay, or
Fingers crossed.
you're going to go through it. But again, if you're going through it, I feel like at this particular point, you have such peace in your life because you got God, and you're like, yeah, it's hard. The struggle's real,
If I die,
but yeah, you're not even worried about anything. Okay, so the meteor hits me square, just boom, I'm right underneath it.
Because
Going to see
Now I'm
Jesus.
with Jesus.
The second all of this starts, everything that we believe is affirmed.
That's
Everything we believe is affirmed, and that, like you just said, it should give you that immense amount of peace.
yeah. That no matter what they do, whether I'm going to say this every time we talk about it, everywhere, every setting. I don't want to be tortured.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whether it's short or long, instant or not, once this begins, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that as soon as that takes place, as soon as that death comes, you're going to be seeing Jesus. So, yeah, I'm not going to go out and just purposely stand under the hailstone. But at the same time, I'm not going to be laying awake at night going, oh, please, I hope it doesn't hit here. I hope it doesn't hit. No.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the stress, in a sense, can go away when this begins. So yeah, get right with Jesus because you either miss it altogether, or if you do have to go through a part of it,
you're gonna be okay.
you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to probably feel okay. And I think even our kids, I think, will begin to understand because now, like even my own boys, like they begin to understand how heaven is all right, and the earth is not everything. I mean, granted, I'm okay if we have another little while too. Don't get me wrong, but I think in that moment, even the kids, even the people who don't fully understand now, as soon as that begins, it's like, oh, you know what? Everything we've ever read, everything we've ever heard, everything we've ever talked about, it's all real. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, get right with Jesus.
Blows my mind. There's still going to be people out there that even when all this is happening, and we're saying
Still gonna
it's
reject,
here,
dude. That's
they're still going to call us crazy.
shaking their fist at the sky.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got because even if the church is gone, we haven't even got to the 144,000 part yet. I mean, we discussed it previously a little bit, but we haven't gotten to that part where they're like mass witnessing to the Jews and to the world, and then the two witnesses that come and all of that stuff.
Because after all this, only the most stubborn of stubborn haters are not going to.
Yeah.
Well, and I actually
Bill
think
Nye the Science
I think
Guy.
I think probably I said we haven't gotten to it yet. We haven't talked about it yet, but I think the 144,000 are probably active at this particular point. It talks about it in 14, but as we talked this earlier, just because it talks about it in 14, the way that John writes this is you can't put it all together in order, so it's kind of overlapping the different sections. But still, the 144,000 are preaching Jesus, and there's still going to be people that go, nope.
Yeah.
I'm rejecting it. Just not. That's
I think it comes.
purposely. You're just.
It's not disbelief. I think it's just a hatred
I think
towards
it has
God.
to be like
yeah.
a hatred now that God even is doing this,
Yeah.
right, or allowing this to happen, or whatever.
Why would a loving God do this? More of that.
Yeah.
I think.
It would be really hard to not believe it when you can read it and see it happen in front of you. So
You would think.
You would think, but there's still going to be a very large
No, I mean like
that lives through this that still. Has
I've seen
to go
people
through the
argue
bowls.
against Isaiah's prophecies because they were too accurate. So they're too accurate to be true. They had to have been forged.
He was.
you've seen that happen?
I saw someone arguing that once. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit insane. But yeah, you're right, Jesus. Also, push the share and like button.
Yeah.
And the subscribe button.
In case people even have time to watch this.
Yeah. And I think we'll start the woes next week and then go on to wherever we go on from there.
Yeah, and if you got any questions, we'll clear them up.
Yeah, we'll try.
We will try
We'll give
our
you our
best.
perspective on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right.
Revelation is hard.
Revelation is hard.
Coolio.
We'll see you next time.